Okay, so I think I'm just going to kick it off now. So welcome to We Design People, and this would be an introduction to our design community, a little bit about me, a little bit about design as well, and what our future products and offerings will be. So what's our mission and vision here? We Design People aims to bring designers and creativity, bring design and creativity across to aspiring designers who are already doing design and non-designers as well. So I think that's what's interesting about us because we're not just looking at targeting, students who are going to become designers or designers who want to upskill themselves, but also looking at people who might be businessmen or like lawyers or investors or coming from an engineering background who can find ways to use design and creativity in their application. And our vision in the future would be to aim to empower a community of curious minds who understand design in their own ways. So taking design and making it your own discipline, making it your own thing as well. Because I think a lot of times, when we talk to like in the past when I've talked to engineers or developers, when I mention design to them, they feel like it's something they can't touch. It's a completely different field for them. So letting them know that design is not that doesn't have that high of a barrier, but it's actually just creative thinking and thinking for your users is what we're looking at here. So, okay, I'm just gonna get more people in. So who are we here? My name is Radhika. I'm the founder, and by profession, I'm a service designer. We also have Siddhi, who's a co-founder and curriculum designer, and she's a visual communicator. And we have Devankana here, who's a visual strategist and a graphic designer. And Teert, who's our UI UX designer, and by profession, he's a UI designer. Yeah. So we're also constantly looking at, having more people join our team, whoever is interested in, creating movement, creating impact for design. So, do reach out to us if you are interested in it. And I think at the same time, it'll be great to get to know you guys a little bit as well. So I'm just going to randomly shoot arrows at some people, and I'm just going to ask you to introduce yourself and what your background is and what you're currently doing. So maybe Tanushri, do you want to share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. My name is Tanushree, and I'm a sales engineer at Salesforce right now.
Okay.
And I've just been interested in the design space for a while, so I'm interested to just learn a bit more about it. So kind of excited to talk to you.
That's great. That's great. Thanks for joining. What about Wee Hong?
Yeah, hi. I'm actually doing a postgraduate in simulation and immersive design. So it's rather, but I previously was I work in the government. My undergrad was actually geography, so like it's a new field. So that's why I'm probably like opening up my scope a bit wider.
Wow, I'd love to know more about your field. It sounds really interesting. What about Karthik?
Yes, actually, my education background is in mechanical engineering. So I'm transitioning to design, and currently I'm an intern at one of the UX companies. So actually, I'm very interested in service design particularly because in my previous 3 years of experience, prior to joining design, I felt the need for service design in many of the industries actually.
That's nice. I'd love to hear more about your experiences and your thoughts on that.
Yes,
Yeah, later we will have a Q&A session, so I think we can have a good discussion there.
Yeah.
And lastly, maybe Siddhi, do you want to share a little bit about yourself?
Hi, I'm Siti. So actually, I was a mechanical engineering student, but I career switched to UI UX about 4 months ago. So UI UX is relatively new to me, and in my company, I'm the only designer, and I'm actually their first UI UX designer as well. So I'm learning by myself. Well, so attending this kind of webinar and all that is one way for me to learn as well. Yeah, from seniors.
Wow, okay. Yeah, that must be really challenging for you, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for sharing a little bit about yourself, guys. So I'm going to talk a little bit about myself now and how I came to be a service designer. I wasn't always a designer. So I actually did a diploma in business management at SIM, where I learned a bit about economics, law, accounting, operationals, you name it. And then I went on to do a degree in economics and finance from LSE. So I was doing that degree, but every time I do something, I try to like learn from it and realize or understand what I don't like about it and what I like about it. So when I was doing economics and finance, it was very academically driven. It's like you literally don't have to come to class. You can just take the books home and study and give your exams. And I realized I'm more of a people person. So I actually left that degree. And then I went on to doing graphic design at Nafa. So Nafa is a design school in Singapore, and I did my diploma in graphic design there. That's where I was really exposed to design. But again, I felt like there was a bit of a gap because I felt like I was just designing posters and collaterals, but I didn't know who I was designing it for. I didn't know why I'm designing it. I didn't know whether they like it or not, the people I'm designing it for. So I felt like I need to get out there. I need to talk to people. I need to understand whether there is any use for what I'm doing. And that's when I went on to doing service design at the Royal College of Art in London. So that's where I did my master's. And that was a very collaborative course, very immersive, very client-based, very application-based, which really, really taught me a lot. And I've worked at Grab as a service designer for a bit. And previously, I was working at Chemistry Team, which is a design consultancy. And I just recently joined Kantar. So Kantar is a market research consultancy, and they newly opened up their Kantar Public division. And honestly, like as Siti mentioned, we're the only design team in the entire Kantar. So we're pretty new and we're trying experience design and behavioral design as well. So it's been really exciting so far. And I think one thing to keep in mind is to always be curious, no matter what, like where life takes you, there will be ups and downs, and it's okay to like not continue with something sometimes, as I did for economics and finance. But always explore and always be curious about new things. So just to share a little bit about the kind of clients that I've worked with, I've worked with Grab, worked with ThoughtWorks, which is a software tech consultancy, but seeing how design might come to use for them. And we were looking at the future of consultancy. So we actually designed a design toolkit for them and a hackathon. We also worked with the Wildlife Reserve Singapore, and we actually trained a lot of their employees in design thinking. So as you can see, for ThoughtWorks, we made a toolkit. For Wildlife Reserve, we trained them in design thinking. The output can be anything. It really depends on what your users and your clients and your stakeholders need and want. In that sense, I also work with JP Morgan, which is a financial industry. So design can play a part in many, many types of industries. So some examples here are the healthcare industry. So I actually did a service design project in the healthcare industry. And this was a UK client. And we were looking at how to redesign and reimagine the retirement life of a senior. So, maybe when they're in the 50s or 60s, how did they transition from home to a care setup, but not a sad, boring care setup where they feel old, but where they feel empowered and enabled. It's almost like a hotel, but like for retirement. So we had to design the entire journey. So, for example, service design consists of blueprint mapping, customer journeys, service principles, talking to them, doing interviews. So we did a lot of interviews online with them because they were in London, right? So trying to understand their necessities, trying to create user personas to map and group the different seniors into different groups to provide customized experiences for different groups of seniors. Another one could be UI UX design, which might play a part. Actually, UI UX design plays a part in a lot of industries because it's really well recognized. But one example is an investment app like Coinbase. So some of you might have heard of Coinbase, CoinHako, and other apps like that. And it was really hard for me to, do investments previously because it's just really confusing. But if you have a good interface, it's simple. It's easy for non-experts to be able to use. I think anything can become easy to adapt to as well. So I think that's where UI UX design plays a big part. Another really interesting example is in the construction industry in terms of sustainable design. So this might look like it's a jungle or a forest, but it's actually a lot of buildings covered in plants and trees. So this is basically in China, and okay, this is basically in China, and China basically began this construction for the world's first forest city in the Guangxi province. And it has planted more than 40,000 trees and 1 million plants of more than 100 species to absorb 10,000 tons of carbon dioxide and pollutants, and to produce, 900 tons of life-giving oxygen annually. So they're actually adapting, with what problems they already have, and they're creating transformative solutions with that. And the last one here that some of you may be familiar with is style theory. So that's actually in the retail and fashion industry. So for those who are not familiar, style theory adopts the circular design model, whereby you actually rent clothes. So you're not buying clothes, but you're actually renting them. So they're a subscription-based model where maybe you decide to rent, let's say, 3 or 6 outfits in a month, and you use them, you wear them, and then you give it back to them, and they'll give you 3 new outfits for the next month. And if you decide to keep one of them because you really like them, then you buy it. More sustainable, to be able to, utilize clothes and to be able to recycle clothes in a way. And I think that's really, really interesting. So who kind of came up with the concept of design, and who has been one of the thought leaders in design? Some of you may know Don Norman. So Don Norman is actually, he previously was working at Apple as a user experience architect, and then as the vice president of the Advanced Technology Group. He came up with this book called The Design of Everyday Things. I know, like, maybe you could just let me know in the chat, like, how many of you have actually read this book? Have any of you read this book? Any of you familiar with it? Okay, nice. Yeah, exactly. So I actually, this was an inspiration for me for my thesis when I was doing it. And I really, really enjoyed this book because it kind of, guides you to how daily objects can be intuitive or non-intuitive, and analyzing them in that manner. So even if it's like a kettle, if it's a door, if it's, like a book, if it's a switch, he actually observes and analyzes whether they're user-friendly or not. So I'm going to show you a small snippet of this really amazing video. I watch it all the time, and I'm hooked to it every time I watch it. So it's going to be a small snippet, but we're going to drop the link for you if you want to watch it at your own time.
I decided at one point the word user was a bit degrading. Why not call people people? And it's amazingly simple and amazingly seldom practiced. We call it iterative because it goes around in a circle. We go out and we observe what is happening today. We observe people doing the task. And from that, we say, oh, we have some ideas. Here's what we should perhaps propose to do.
Then you prototype your solution and test it.
Quite often these are wrong at first, but each time we go around the circle, we do a better job of making the device until the point where we're actually making something that really works.
And this process has spread all over the world.
And it turns out it's improving lives.
From better everyday things like the ones that Don wrote about,
to using the same process to solve huge problems in public health in developing countries.
water,
Sanitation,
farming.
lots more. So would be a better human-centered door?
An ideal door is one that as I walk up to it and walk through it, I'm not even aware that I had opened the door and shut it. So if you had a door which had a flat plate, what could you do? Nothing. The only thing you can do is push. So see, you wouldn't need a sign. A flat plate, you push.
This kind of push bar with the piece sticking out on one side works well too. So you can see what side you're supposed to push on.
The vertical bars could go either way. A simple little hand thing, though, sort of indicates pull.
But we still have terrible, terrible doors in the world. So
Yep. So that was a small snippet of it where he talks a little bit about, there are doors which say pull, but then you actually have to push them, and they're not really intuitive. And it's a great video, so go ahead and watch it whenever you have the time to.
I decided.
So some examples of design, skills and design industries would be, for example, graphic design. You have service design. You have sustainable design, UI UX design, city design. And what we at We Design People aim to do is bring them across to you. Some of you may be familiar with, let's say, graphic design, UI UX design, a little bit of service design. But I feel like sustainable design, city design, they might be something that's fairly new and fairly academically taught. But we want to make it more hands-on, more simple to grasp as well, and bridge the gap between experts who are experts in these fields and people who are really interested in them as well. And also, as part of the community, think about what's next. What could be next in terms of design. So really, we want to be a co-creative community. So let's look a little bit at what the importance of design is. So if you look, before implementing your ideas or your ideas into development, it is estimated that implementing user experience design can save up to 50% of wasted development time. I don't know how many of you have actually gone through the process of iterating your developments or your post-production processes, which is great because it's good to iterate, but it's good to definitely get feedback first from your users and then iterate it. So this, not sure how many of you actually know what this is. So this is actually an observation room, and it's used a lot for focus group discussions or testing rounds. So if you see the lady, actually can't see the guy who's watching her, only the guy can see her because it's a one-way mirror. And he's seeing how she responds to the testing object, which is the desktop. Probably there's like a platform and a new website that she's supposed to test out, and he's seeing how she behaves. Does she get frustrated at some points? Does she get confused? Is she lost? Or is she able to smoothly go through the process? Because it's really important to get feedback, but it's also really important to observe the behavior of your users. So we use this a lot in our day-to-day design workshops and things like that as well, to understand and observe people and get feedback from them for our services and products. At any point, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to go ahead and ask. And then there is creative thinking, right? So creative problem solving sessions with groups who have little to no knowledge or a little bit of knowledge about creative tools actually generate 350% as many ideas than groups without that training. So it's really important to think about concepts, discuss, come up with ideas. The ideas might not go anywhere, but to keep that creative process going, it's really, really important. So this is just a quick funny gif of a Lego blocks setup, because a lot of the times when we do prototypes, when we do testing with audience, we actually use Lego blocks to sort of simulate the realness or the sort of playfulness of a prototype. It's a very lo-fi way of doing a prototype, and it's great. Another really important point here is that recruiters actually rank creative problem solving as the second most difficult skill to find among job applicants. So we do see this as a real problem, because I think creative problem solving, like design thinking, or they're more like soft skills. They're not technical or hard skills, and it's really difficult to define it. So that's what we're also trying to do here. So now I'm here posing a question to you. I want to know about an example or a scenario or a memory of how design and creativity has impacted your lives. So I'll give it a minute, and I'd love everyone to just, unmute themselves and respond to the question.
I guess products are very designing of products have helped us to have a much better life. Like it's very important to create a product in the right way, be it a juice carton or be it like I can currently think of any consumables like food products and stuff, cans, etc. So yeah, that.
Yep. Okay, that's a good one. Thanks, Ivanka. I think Tanushri says everything Apple. I think that's a great example. Yeah. Maybe Tanushri, I know you can't unmute right now, but if you can elaborate a little bit on the chat, then I can share your response with everyone. Who else would like to share, like an example or a situation where they feel like design and creativity has impacted their life? Don't be shy, guys. No one's gonna judge your responses, honestly. Like, it could be in the smallest ways possible, you know. Okay, Tanushri says that the MacBooks or Apple, everything Apple has basically made of wood. Okay. Positive impact and negative impact both.
Hello, hi.
Hi.
Share something. So I think when it comes to creativity, is something that's not easy to get. That's what I think. I think one interesting creative idea that recently I came across. I mean, it's more from my team member. Is that we were designing a product uh, uh, for parents, and then this product is actually um, like maids when they take care of these children's.
Mhm.
What my teammates suggest, right, is that to present the updates done by these mates to the parents in a Facebook format, whereby the post is in chronological order. So I was like, hey, actually that's quite creative in a sense that when the parents see the post, right, they know like when the children first in contact with the maid, what did the children do at this timing, what the children eat, and all this, what the children play. So I think initially it's just going to be like some kind of reporting app, but then now it become a story app that tells the how the children days goes. So I think that's quite creative, I think. Yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting. And I'm guessing also for the helpers and the maids, right? It's easy to adapt towards as well.
Correct,
Because
right.
of Facebook, right?
Yes. So actually, these mates are from the less developed country, so they don't know how to use laptop. So that's why we decided to go with an app. And then actually they indicate that Facebook is my favorite app because all of their friends is on Facebook. Yeah. So yeah, actually okay. Now we have design directions and like a creative idea. It's like okay, cool. Yeah.
Nice.
Mm.
And did you guys test it out?
Not yet. We are still in the design. So we just come up with the ideas. We just finished the interview.
Okay.
So not yet even wireframing and all that. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
Oh, that's really interesting. I hope you have success in it.
Thank you.
Yeah. And maybe you can like definitely like add pictures to it as well, right? Because you said it should be like a story. It should have a story feel to it.
Yes.
That's quite interesting. Yeah. I think we have Wee Hong saying, do you want to share your response, Wee Hong?
I think so. I was saying basically all technology are embodiments of design. I think especially those. I think the ones that impact us the most is probably those that we tend to use day to day, or it is a necessity. In a sense, given in the digital age that we are in today. Yeah. So I think that's just. I mean, banking apps are one example. Probably the easiest example that all of us have to use one way or another. So
Yeah. So making sure that they're intuitive and they're user friendly is so important because it can have other impacts on your life as well. Like if it doesn't work out, you'll be frustrated and maybe it'll affect something else in your life or your day as well. Tanushri, thanks for your responses as well. The affordable incubator for babies created by the Stanford design team. Oh, okay. One of the interesting cases. Okay. That's very interesting. I wish you could, unmute yourself and share with us. But no worries. We'll be here for a bit, so you can always do that in the Q&A later. Thanks for sharing, guys. This was really enriching. So let's just talk a little bit about what We Design People is offering to you guys, right? And we'd love to know what else you want it to be as well. So firstly, we would be doing speaker sessions. So similar to what I'm doing now, but actually getting growing designers as well as design experts to share their experiences with the community. So what I mean by growing designers here could be, for example, some of you are like doing your masters in a certain, let's say, design industry, or you have experience in the design field, a working experience, and you feel like there's something you can share with the community. We'd love to know more about that as well. Um, Something else is workshops. So we are planning to do short and interactive workshops for you to understand and practice basic design and creative skills. So for example, this is, some of you may know, this is a Miro board. It's a whiteboard collaborative tool that I think all designers use today. I mean, honestly, it's one of the best things. I don't know how we lived without it before, like it existed. So it's really useful, and we'll be using this for our workshops. And something else that we're also trying to add in is, other than having us as the facilitators, we'll be getting guest designers from that particular field to also facilitate the session and add their knowledge to it. Later on in the year, or we would also be having boot camps. They would be a bit more immersive, a bit more long term. Let's say maybe a span over 4 weeks, once every week, and it'll be a connected course, and you'd be getting a certificate from that as well. So you'd be receiving more in-depth understanding of the same design skills as the one in the workshops. And then we also do have career and academic talks. So as a designer myself, a lot of the times, people reach out to me on LinkedIn and they're like, hey, I just saw you're an alumni from RCA. I'd love to know more about that program. I'm interested in it. Can I talk to you for half an hour? So I realized that a lot of people are contacting a lot of alumni, a lot of experts. So I thought, why not create a panel where you can come up and alumni can actually share their opinions and their experiences about different design fields from a specific school or from a specific career path as well with you guys. So bringing alumni and experts closer to you to share their experiences and address your doubts about your futures. So that's something that we'd be doing as well. And lastly, we'd also be doing some get-togethers. So this is more casual. This is more where all of us come together, we chit-chat, we discuss stuff. We have, like, let's say a happy hour Friday or something, just to update each other on our lives and what's going on. And some other things that we'd be doing is some exciting community activities that we'd be, preparing for you as well. And fret not, it's not just coming from our side. We'd love to know what you want to learn or what you want to contribute or what activities you want to do as well. It could even be as simple as an icebreaker. So this is your design community, share, make friends, network, and grow. So that's something we're definitely looking at as well. So just a summary, we have speaker sessions, workshops, boot camps, academic and career talks, and we also have get-togethers. So do watch out for our upcoming talks. We have Preksha, who will be talking about design for sustainability. She's currently doing her master's at the Savannah College of Art and Design. And I think this is a really interesting and upcoming topic that not many of us know about. I don't know much about it as well, so I'd love to hear from her. So we'll be having this talk on 6th of June, which is around a month away. So do look out for our posts and register for it. And I think a month later or so, we'll be having a talk by Soumya. So she's a service designer in the public sector in London. So she actually works in one of the councils in London. And it'll be really interesting to see and hear about her experiences about how she uses service design for public services. Yeah. Later on, we'll also be having talks in other areas. And if you guys have anything that you're interested in knowing about, drop it in the chat, so we can have a look up for that as well. do take screenshots or anything, if you need to, as a reminder, but we'll definitely be sending you out reminders as well. So one thing that we should always keep in mind is asking why. Just keep asking why. Be curious all the time. Whenever you're designing something, when you're interviewing people, when you want to understand your user, ask why. If they're like, I don't really like doing this much, or I actually prefer this experience to that experience, or ask them why. Why do you prefer that? Go deeper and deeper, because you will find out the root reason for it, and that's what they really care about. So when you actually tackle their root problem or their root reason, that will create the most impact. Because often people will not tell you what they want. They will not tell you why they want it or don't want it. You have to really sit down and discuss with them, get a bit more personal with them. So whether it's your stakeholder, whether it's your client, whether it's a ground user, or whether it's even like you're working for an organization and you're working for employees, for example, ask why. That's really, really important. And yes, I think some of you have already done this, but do follow us on our Slack channel. You can scan the QR code here. And we are also on the other platforms. We're also on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and you can also email us. So for those who have joined our Slack channel, we will be dropping the links. We'll be dropping a Linktree link, actually. So the Linktree link will have all the other links to Instagram, to LinkedIn, to Twitter as well. So you can just follow us there. So maybe now I just like to, we're open to questions, if any of you have any burning questions to ask us, something you're curious about.
Yeah, it's Karthik over here. One thing I'm curious is about service design. So I've worked in multiple industries prior joining to making my transition to design. So initially I worked as a HVAC engineer since I'm from mechanical background, right? So I worked as a HVAC engineer, and after that I worked in a call center as a non-voice executive, where I saw a lot of repetitive actions, daily actions taking place. So that's the thing. I just interacted with some of the managers. I explained to them that these are the activities taking place again and again. But the thing is that a lot of the things are iterative in nature in the call center, because every time a customer calls and mostly the reply is just the same, and the backend activity is also the same, just like activating something or deactivating something. So I personally work for the Vodafone client. So it's like I was focused more into the international roaming packs because they are critical, right? Like a user may get deserted if something goes wrong. The thing is that there were some issues in the IR packs, so I kind of cascaded it to the managers. But thing was that they were made a design change. They informed that they made a design change, and due to which those daily activities were not required anymore. So the impact was that, since you asked the question previously, right? The impact of a design. Thing is that the job wasn't required anymore, the iterative job. So the thing is that I moved on from there, and I worked on Amazon last year as a catalog associate. And the thing is that that's the point where I felt they're always intensively into metrics. Metrics, they are completely metrics driven. That's cool actually. But thing is that there's something like effectiveness, efficiency, efficacy, right? You may have heard of since the COVID period. So effectiveness of metric and efficiency of metrics. So when people like focus on efficiency of metrics, is like output by input, right? The ratio of output by input. But how do we measure the effectiveness? So when I try to search like this, I came across the service design, and particularly about service blueprint from the perspective of employee, actually. Employee is a user. So at the time I came to know about this, and I'm very interested about service blueprint. I kind of want to make my portfolio based on this actually. So thing is that I want a major question is like portfolio building for the service design perspective. So how would it be?
Okay, I think that's it's really nice of you to share your journey and your experience, and we'll definitely be doing introductory workshops to service design. And then we'll be doing longer boot camps as well, where that would help you build your portfolio. So for example, like you said, blueprints, right? Which actually help in plotting customer or employee pain points and understanding how to tackle them, which are the most important ones to tackle as well. All of those things will be addressed. So, I mean, it's great that you have mentioned this. So we do know that that's something that is needed and people want to know more about that. So we'll definitely look into that.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks a lot, Karthik. Anyone else, any other questions? You can also, just drop your questions in the chat below and we can address them. Even if it's not questions, anything you're curious about as well, or that you're interested in terms of design and creativity. Hi, Lee. Should I call you Lee or Leah? Sorry.
Is it?
No, there's another person named Leah here. Leah Pemberton.
Hi, it's Leah.
Hi. I'd just like you to introduce yourself. Can I know a little bit about you and what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm from the US. I'm currently studying in school, going back for graphic design. My BA is in industrial design.
Okay. And what interested you about We Design People?
It was recommended to me by a friend because I'm re-entering the design field again. So just trying to learn about different areas of design and different ways to be more creative.
Okay, that's great. I'm not sure if you were here for the entire session, but just to maybe update you as well that we are going to have two upcoming talks in sustainable design and service design. So do look up for those, and you can follow us on our Slack channel as well. I think we do have Bryce here as well. Bryce, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi.
Hi.
So sorry about that. Had to, because I'm outside, I just need to go to a quiet place to share more about myself.
Okay.
Yeah. So I actually have a background in like communication design here locally at LaSalle, but I have been exploring a lot of things. I picked up sort of like strategy and business strategy kind of information on my own. And I've been applying that into my own independent branding design consultancy.
Right.
So I use a lot of human-centered design combined with business strategy, and I realized IDEO has this thing called business design, which is quite similar, and I didn't notice. So when I had a friend like tell me, "Hey, you're doing something like IDEO's business design," I went to take a look at it, and then I learned a lot more. And of course, I chanced upon the MBA, Design MBA, online as well, and that's where I also picked up a lot more on how to exactly apply design and business together. But personally, I'm trying to look into more of service design, as my personal passion is more of like addressing the climate crisis, and that's why I'm really looking forward to the next call with the sustainability.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. That's nice to hear. Yeah, I think definitely service design is an upcoming skill and field in design, as well as something that you mentioned, which is business design. So in a lot of my work as well, it's not just about service design, but we also have to look at things from the business viability and feasible point of view. So that's something that would be applicable to all of you, whoever's a non-designer as well. That's something you can take away from one of our workshops that we will be doing on business design as well. So do look out for that. Thanks a lot, Bryce.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me up here.
Yeah. Are there any other questions or anyone else who'd like to introduce themselves? Okay. If not, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I think this has been a really fruitful introduction from our end as well, from our side, our first launch. And do look out for our next few talks, and follow us on our Slack channel to find out more about those talks as well. Yeah. And our Slack channel is open to everyone. Anything that you find interesting about design, do share it, and keep us updated about yourselves, and we'll keep you updated about whatever's available from our side for you guys as well. Thanks a lot for spending your Saturday with us. Yeah, thank you guys. See you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you. See you.
so much.